turn back to Broughton and Fisher. Is Ms. Broughton returned? Were you able to confirm that Mr. Broughton is available?
We're currently on the phone with his work at Fort Washuga.
All right. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start these proceedings if he's not available for cross-examination today. We do have 2 hours today, which is something that we don't typically have the advantage of. So I'm going to go ahead and start these proceedings, and if there's someone that's not available for cross-examination today, we can set it open and conclude it on another day. Hopefully everyone will be available today, as that is the most beneficial for the court in terms of analyzing the evidence. So both of you have a seat at the counsel table behind you. And all of the witnesses, if you would please step outside of the courtroom. If you're just observing today's proceedings, you're welcome to remain in the courtroom. If you are testifying, you must remain outside of the courtroom. For the record, this is cause number 102301183, the matter of Christine Broughton and Jacob Fisher. This matter comes on today for contested hearing for protection order. We're going to hear first from Ms. Christine Broughton and 2 witnesses. And Mr. Fisher will have an opportunity to cross-examine each witness. That means only that you can ask them questions about the testimony that they provided. Anything that you find misleading or confusing in their testimony.
I understand.
Thank you. Once Ms. Broughton has had the final opportunity to make her statements in her case, we'll turn to Mr. Fisher's case. Mr. Fisher, I see that you have a lot of documents in front of you. Are they simply for your benefit, or are they items that you wish to have marked as exhibits?
They're going to be exhibits, yes.
All right. Typically, when I do the calendar call, that's when I want you to hand those documents to all parties so that they can have an opportunity to review them. Has Ms. Broughton been provided with all of your potential exhibits?
Yes, she has.
And do you have you provided them all to the clerk so they can be pre-marked?
That is what these are for. Yes.
All right. Would you do that quickly, please? I can't help but notice that those are declarations that you've already filed in the court file.
They are.
All right. So again, for purposes of economy, if it's already filed, I don't need it to be marked as an exhibit. But you can just highlight them in your testimony.
Okay, so...
Do you have items in front of you that have not already been filed with the court?
Yes.
Okay. Would you identify those documents and have them marked as exhibits?
These are going to be pictures of me and my son showing...
I don't need to discuss it right now. I just need anything that... Have you provided those photographs?
Yes. In fact, she has them.
Would you be specific as to dates and occasions?
I don't know if I can give you specific dates. I have a number of different occasions that it's happened. I've actually called the police for Christine as she felt threatened and couldn't make a phone call because she was with them and she was texting me. I called 911 and she had given me the address of where she thought that they were going. And I think that they were showing up there, and then the address changed, and then the police came, and on that occasion, and another occasion when they had met, and I don't remember all the details. I just remember her feeling incredibly threatened and tricked, and Jacob was taking Trace, and Trace was screaming, and that I heard the car seat just, outside the van of their car, and Trace screaming, "Mommy, Mommy," and another occasion, it's happened more than one time, where Kyle had threatened that he was done with her and that she couldn't live there anymore, and she had a 30-day written notice, and he wrote it all out for her, and she needed to sign it, and she needed to be out of their living situation within 30 days. I know that just, since I've known her so long, it has been just a process of just hearing, just different circumstances and just what Trace is subjected to at the home, and, with Jacob's addiction, and that he just is, Trace is subjected to that, and so is Christine, and I think it just affects the whole, him as a whole.
Actually, you keep saying but you haven't been specific enough for me to understand today. What do you mean by what Trace has been subjected to? Could you be specific as to what you have personally observed that he's been subjected to? Could you be specific about the occasions and what behaviors you observed or overheard and you felt were intimidating or controlling? And could you be specific about what you mean by Jacob's addiction?
Okay. His pornography addiction. I believe that has maybe partially contributed to the way he treats her and others, especially women. But as far as Trace being subjected, and it's just via telephone, Christine would call me when he was watching movies that were inappropriate, and his son was there as well. And, her feeling frustrated, and, what should I do? What can I do? There were probably just a few incidences that were specifically that. The other ones were, it was actually happening in the process during when I called the police were there. Christine was on the phone. Trace was screaming.
Why did you call the police? What was happening?
She texted me because she said that Kyle was taking her and dropping her off somewhere and was taking Trace, and so she felt that she didn't have any control over that. So she felt she couldn't call me, so she just texted me. So when I called the police, then they showed up, and I don't remember which occasion it was. I think there was one occasion that he showed up. They showed up at his house, and another was over at her dad's house.
Did you observe what was happening?
Observe with my eyes?
Yes.
I was not there.
And what did you understand to be happening?
I just knew that Trace felt very threatened, and so did Christine. And
do you know what they felt threatened by?
He's very volatile and just has a huge anger problem.
What makes you say that?
I've just heard him, just the way that he speaks to Christine, and
what does he say? Can you describe it?
I wouldn't say, what I've experienced is just demeaning, as I haven't ever heard him threaten her to I'm gonna do anything specifically to you. I haven't heard him yell like that to her. Just that I felt in her voice that she felt threatened for her life. That's what I experienced from Christine.
Okay.
And for her son's life. Safety. I'm going to say safety. Safety.
Have you observed any behaviors on his part? Have you personally observed behaviors that made you better understand why she felt that way?
Just controlling. When you're with him, you just can feel that tension between them, and that she doesn't have liberty to express herself or be just free to express herself. And just incredibly demeaning. He's just sarcastic and rude and disrespectful.
Has my questioning brought out all of the testimony you wish to present with this witness, or did you have further questions?
Would you like some more information on the dates of this incident?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you what I would like to hear or what would be beneficial to the court. You have to decide.
Okay, could I make a comment on a specific date?
You can't testify right now. You need to conclude this witness's testimony.
I'd
Did you have any further questions for her?
I'd like to conclude.
So you don't have anything further for her? I just want to be clear. Do you have any questions for her, yes or no?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher, did you have any questions for this witness?
I do.
First, can I make a comment?
Actually,
You have to wait.
answer
Okay,
questions, and
okay.
I just asked a few foundational questions, and
Okay.
some clarifying questions
Okay.
for what I didn't understand, and she hasn't asked a question. You can
Okay.
answer Mr. Fisher's question.
Okay, super.
Okay, these are just the yes or no questions. You described our relationship as tense. Do you think that calls for an emergency protection order?
That isn't my call. I don't live with you.
I didn't say that, I'm asking you.
She's declining to answer. She's indicating, and I don't know is a reasonable answer, and it unfortunately is a question for the court, which the court has already determined.
You say that I have a demeaning and controlling attitude or behavior. I don't think anywhere that there is written for protection order to be based on, oh, he's belittling with someone. Would you agree?
I do not know what that court order looks like, or what the court's mandate, what their requirements are for that, or what they decide to. I don't know.
And all of these occasions that you were witnessing, without giving specific dates, of course, is all hearsay? It's just her, Christine, telling you about talking to you over the phone?
It was on the phone with you in the background, or you with us. I think we've met about 8 times, and at your statement at the very beginning that you didn't know and you didn't recognize those witnesses, that just, do you know me? Have you met me before?
I'm sorry, I'm asking the question here. I believe I would have to say, how can you hear a car seat roll on the ground over the phone? I mean, that's kind of hard to hear. Like, cell phones are kind of sketchy as it is. Like,
You need to stick with questions, Mr. Fisher. Your
How can
testimony
you
will
hear?
come.
How did I hear the car seat fall to the ground?
Yes.
I heard the car seat fall to the ground. It's
And how do you know it was a car?
It was a car seat? Let's see, well, I could hear Trace yelling and screaming, and then when the car seat fell, and then he cried, "Mommy, Mommy," I just kind of, not that great with math, but kind of put 2 and 2 together, and it was the car seat. I mean, I have a car seat. I have a car seat and a son, and it's a plastic, it's a specific sound. I mean, it wouldn't have been a stroller or a ball or anything like that. It sounded like a car seat and a child in the car seat.
Oh, so the child was in the car seat when the car seat fell?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. So you never saw anything. You're claiming that you heard these accusations. And you don't know if any of this is even close relevant for a protection order, correct?
Not correct.
Oh, you think that these are good enough accusations for a protection order? Is that what you just said?
I'm going to answer that question. Mr. Fisher, an emergency hearing was held. This court made a finding that an emergency order was appropriate. That is not the issue before the court today. If you need to ask questions pertaining to anything confusing or misleading about her testimony, not questions that ask for legal conclusions, because as I indicated previously, that is my job, to make the legal conclusions. She's a fact witness, so ask questions about anything you found confusing or misleading about the facts that she presented to the court. Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I'd like to conclude this with, I think this witness is...
Mr. Fisher? Closing argument is to be saved for the time for closing argument. This would be your opportunity to ask this witness questions. Did you have any questions for this witness?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Ms. Broughton, did you have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you have any need for this witness to ask further questions?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. I'll just remind the parties that in life we talk freely and we debate. In court, we have a process. So this is the time for presentation of testimony, and argument is at the end. And I will hear from you. I'll hear your testimony, I'll hear your argument, but not now. We need to follow courtroom procedure. Do you have any questions about procedure?
I do not.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Broughton, did you wish to address your own testimony next, or one of your witnesses?
My own testimony, Your Honor.
Would you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Christina C. Broughton, Braathen.
What is your relationship to Jacob Fisher?
He is the father of my child, a common child.
Is there anything further you wish me to know about your relationship by way of background?
Other than a common child in domestic violence, no, Your Honor.
Excuse me?
Other than a common child in domestic violence, no, Your Honor.
What is the basis of your request for a protection order, and to be specific, as I have to make my decision based on testimony and evidence presented today. So if you have declarations that you want me to consider, highlight those for me and be very specific in your statement today.
Okay, would you like me to present those declarations to you at this time?
However you choose to present them, I just understand that I have to make my decision based on evidence presented today, not evidence or materials that I read in preparation for the hearing.
Okay, I would like to present my declarations to you.
It's helpful to the court at these proceedings to hear your testimony because I do have to make credibility assessments, and you're present. So,
Okay.
but you want me to highlight your declaration itself.
Yes, and then I will also testify my statement.
All right. And anything other than your declaration?
Just my declaration and my statements and witnesses.
So you want to highlight everything that you
Yes,
filed
sure.
with the court. There's nothing that you want me not to consider.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So be specific in your testimony. Go ahead.
Okay. I had put in my statements when he had took in my son from me from McDonald's. That was the most recent, and that's when my child was screaming, "Mommy, Mommy, no, no," and screaming very loudly, trying to kick and scream out of the car seat. And he pushed him down and said, "No, it's okay. He said that he wanted him to be with his dad." And my child was scared.
All right. I understand that to a certain extent I do need to consider some parenting issues because of the nature of the allegations, but I'm going to focus you on the domestic violence protection order statutory definition of domestic violence, as that is what I have to focus on today. Domestic violence for purposes of protection order is defined in RCW 2650.010. Physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or the infliction of fear of imminent physical harm, bodily injury, or assault between family or household members, sexual assault of one family or household member by another, or stalking, as defined in the Criminal Code 9A46110, of one family or household member by another family or household member. Has anything of that nature occurred between you and Mr. Fisher?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Would you be specific?
At the incident I was just bringing up, he came up behind me and had grabbed me out of when I was trying to climb in the car so I could watch my son, and he scared me. And then when I was trying to get my son out, he was driving when I was standing by the door, and he started driving away when I was like hanging off the car. And also, he laid hands on me at about February the 11th, where I thought he was going to hit me. He made me afraid, and I told him, "Don't touch me," and he backed off a little bit, but then he told me that he was threatening me, and he told me to leave when I was picking up my son from visitation.
Tell me what you mean by laid hands on you. Could you describe
Like
what
he
you
came
said?
up and touched my shoulder, like he was going to grab me or hit me or something.
And when you say that he threatened you, what did he say?
He said that he wanted me to leave his house, that I wasn't allowed to be there, that he was going to call the cops, that he's, coming after me. He wanted to know where I was living, and I had given him an address because of the domestic violence. And then I just took my son and I grabbed him out of the house, and I took off as fast as I could because I was scared.
You referenced the domestic violence a couple of times. What are you specifically referring to?
In what case? In what situation? In both? Or?
When you say, because of the domestic violence, I didn't want to tell him where I live, what do you mean?
It's because he's physically, mentally, and emotionally abused me and threatened me of abuse, where I felt like I was in fear of my safety and my the best interest of my son and I for our safety, and we were just afraid to be around him because of the controllingness and the flow of anger, and that he might hit me again, or that there might be more harm done.
So when you make that statement, I don't better understand. It's the same from my perspective as you saying because of the domestic violence.
Okay.
Because that's what it means to the court when you
Yes.
say domestic violence. What I'm trying to understand is what specific incidences of physical, emotional, or mental harm have occurred. Over what period of time? You can narrow it down to a time frame. It doesn't have to be specific dates, but try to narrow it down to time frame and explain the incidences that made you feel that you were physically, emotionally, and mentally abused.
Yes, Your Honor, and it's been over a 2-year period.
All right?
It started when my son was about 6 months old or so, and he hit me in my chest suddenly out of the blue. He wanted to spray some chemical spray inside the child's bed when I was going to put him down for a nap, and I kindly asked him no, and he had never, that was the first time he hit me. He came out of the blue and punched me in the breast.
All right. Go ahead.
And then after that, there's been instances of threatening, stalking and control, seeing where I'm at.
Just be specific.
Okay. I had gone to a conference shortly after that incident. I moved out and stayed with my dad for a while. I had gone to a conference right after that. He had watched my son for a visitation when we had a parenting plan in place. And he kept calling me and threatening me and was overwhelmingly angry. And so that's when I had gone with Cherie, Janae, with my witness. I had gone with her to that conference. And she ended up calling the police for me. And my sister went with me. And he would not open the door at first. When he finally opened the door, he wouldn't release my son. And when he did release my son, he dropped him down with the car seat, and he only had a t-shirt on, and it was freezing temperature outside. And then he closed the door to the cops, and he was very angry, and I thought that he might, cause more physical harm to me. So that's why I had the police involved and told them to come right over.
What was he saying at that occasion that you found threatening?
He was saying that I wasn't giving him a location where he was, that he needed to find me or something, and that, you know, making accusations that I was with some other man or something like that, when that wasn't the case. He was like getting up in my face and yelling, making me fearful for my life, because he had just previously hit me.
All right. Go ahead.
And he had also I had a protection order on at that time, and was manipulated into taking it off. I feel that I was manipulated by him by taking it off. And now I see the pattern of domestic violence. And when he broke that protection order, he had called me, and it scared me because I didn't recognize that it was him. And at first it seemed that he was posing to be somebody else. And when I went to the police about it, he was arrested for domestic violence, found committed, and he is currently supposed to be undergoing domestic violence treatment.
Why do you say supposed to be?
Because that's what the court orders. I don't know where things are at now, if he's in compliance or not.
Oh.
And it's just been ongoing. When I left, he kicked me out. And there's been many times where he said that he was going to leave me on the curb, or he was going to, you know, just kick me out of the car. Christmas Eve, he had his sister, we had went to a candlelight church service, and his sister didn't agree with a ritual at church. And I was explaining to her she doesn't usually go to church. And my son was with us, and when we were on the way home, I also had Sheree calling the police because he was trying to have his sister grab me out of the car, and I felt like I was being assaulted. And then he was just going to leave me on the street with my son in the cold, which he did, and I didn't have a key to the house at that time. And I had officers come out and see that I was safe.
All right.
I've been staying in an undisclosed location because I've been fearing my safety. He kept asking me where I'm living, and I have not given out my location because I'm afraid that he might come after me. I don't know if he's got people there that might, you know, go find me or, you know, cause any other thing. He's very manipulative, controlling, wants to know what I'm doing all the time, and things like of that nature.
All right.
And I think that's pretty much what is in here. All those instances that have happened.
All right.
And I did not call the police when he hit me at first. I was very much in shock, and I was so afraid that I should have called the police, but I didn't because I was afraid. And I locked myself in the bedroom and ended up moving out to my dad's for a while because I was afraid for my life.
Is there anything further that you wish to present?
Also, he had a car that he had bought for me, and when he took my son from me, he also took the car away from me, and I was stranded out there, and I didn't know, you know, what was going to happen.
Mr. Fisher, did you have any cross-examination questions for Ms. Bran?
I do. Your Honor, she says that I hit her, and using her words, she says I hit her in the breast. Which breast?
Actually, I heard that you struck her in the chest.
Chest? Is that what she's saying? Okay.
That is what I heard. Go
Is
ahead and
that-
clarify. Did you say chest or breast?
It was my breast. It's like the whole chest was affected.
All right. And could you demonstrate? He wants to know where it was that he struck.
I believe it was like this.
All right.
So it was a face-on deal, like we were both facing each other, or was I facing an opposite way and possibly maybe it was maybe an elbow? Was it with my hand? Was it with open hand? Or was it more of a push?
It was a fist punch, like somebody was punching a karate type punch.
A karate type punch. You say that and many of the occasions there, you had the police involved. That's a lot of your occasions.
Yes.
I didn't see any police reports or anything. Is there any police reports?
Yes, there are many police reports.
And do you have a copy of those?
Not with me.
I'm not sure, this is kind of misleading here. You were saying you didn't have keys at a time to get into a house. Whose house?
The house we were both living in.
And at the time you're saying that my sister was assaulting you to get out of the house to leave you there.
She was assaulting me
your house.
inside the car.
So you don't have keys to your own house. Is that correct?
I had forgot the keys. We were in a rush leaving, and you were fully aware of that, and I told you that, and knowing that you wanted to leave me outside.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further to present?
Yes. Could I represent my statement?
Excuse me?
My statement?
You've already asked me to take notice of everything that's been filed in the court, and I did review it in preparation for today's hearing, and we'll take it into consideration because you specifically requested it.
Okay, and then as far as my other witnesses, could we see about getting hold of Edward Broughton?
We can see if we can get Mr. Broughton on the line. What's the phone number? Have you provided it to the clerk?
Mr. Broughton on the last time that you were called, he was to be available, and he has not called.
All right, then let's turn to your other witness, Suzanne Broughton.
Sorry.
Would you come on and point to the mic? This one. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. Would you have a seat in the witness chair? The black box in front of you is a microphone.
Okay.
Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Suzanne Marie Broughton, Braten.
What is your relationship to Christina Broughton?
I am her stepmother.
Are you familiar with Jacob Fisher?
Yes, he's been to our house on several occasions. We've had him over for dinner. So, yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to observe the two of them together?
Yes, I have.
How would you describe the interaction?
I would say it was dysfunctional. I got the impression that he was very often browbeating her, put her down a lot, that made her feel like she was stupid in his presence and in Trace's presence.
Have you observed anything that you would describe as violent?
The only things that I've seen were on a couple of occasions. Christina has called us and told us that police were called, that on Christmas Eve the police were called, and she called us and told us that Kyle was telling her to get out and that she couldn't take Trace, and my husband went over there and it was able to be resolved. And then on another occasion, Christina called us and said that Kyle she'd met Kyle in McDonald's in Yelm, and to allow him to spend some time with Trace, and he had just walked out with Trace and said he was leaving with Trace. And she tried to get in the vehicle because he was taking him, and that he shoved her. And this is her, what she said.
Let me back up. My question was, have you observed personally? I've heard her testimony.
Okay.
To be efficient and frankly, I need to hear what you have personally observed.
It's being violent. The only thing I've heard, or I haven't seen, but I've heard, and when she was in the car with him and they were driving to the airport, and I could hear him yelling at her, using the F word, and just, saying some really demeaning things to her. And he sounded scary.
Do you recall when that telephone conversation with Christina was, where you overheard that interaction?
I don't remember the date of it. It was when she was going to make a flight to.
You just have to testify from your own memory.
Yeah. No, it was probably a couple months ago.
Has my question brought out the testimony you wish to present with this witness, or did you have other questions for me?
I don't have any further questions.
All right. Mr. Fisher, did you have any cross-examination questions for me?
How long have you been Christine's stepmother?
Since August of 2009.
Oh, so fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this short amount of time, you feel like you have grown to be very observant and very judgmental of Christine and our relationship?
I think that in that short amount of time, I've seen enough evidence that I can say this. On one occasion that I didn't mention, when I went with Christine to pick up Trace, and after he had taken Trace at McDonald's, a policeman, we met a policeman there and went in, and the police was in the house for about 25 minutes. And when he came out, I went over to meet his mother, and I stuck out my hand to meet Kyle's mother because I never met her. And the policeman stopped me and he said, "You don't understand how bad it is in there. You need to get in the car now. You need to leave now." And we hurried to try to get Trace in there, and I went to thank the police for helping us, and he says, "You don't understand, they have things in there." And he said, "I have a 2-year-old myself, and I just want to get out of here." What I think it is that earlier that day, my husband had gone over there, and he had said that your father had brought out, while he was there, an AK-47 and holding it in his hand. He wasn't pointing it, but he was holding it in his hand. And that's what I think they were talking about.
And you have a 2-year-old yourself, you said?
No.
And your husband, who is your husband?
Ed Broughton.
Ms. Bran, would you consider demeaning and belittling comments probable cause for issuing a protection order?
I'm going to direct you not to answer that question. It mischaracterizes the legal standards, and it again asks for a lay witness to draw a legal conclusion, which is the job of this judicial officer.
You said you had several occasions or encounters with Christine and I. Can you give me a number of how many, maybe total? Like a range, possibly?
Maybe 7.
I'm sorry, did you say 7?
7, and where you actually came over to our house. Yeah.
So in 7 encounters with me, you can make all these accusations. Did you ever get to write or see any of these police reports, or possibly a police report? Have you ever seen one?
About
Any of the situations, actually.
no. Well, I have to qualify that. I saw the one about the situation I just talked to you about, and it wasn't, but I didn't read it all. I glanced at it, but I didn't read it.
Okay, so there is a police report out there. Is what you're saying. Okay.
Let the record reflect that the witness answered yes. You need to answer in words.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the type of gun that was again?
Well, I'm saying it's an AK-47. Assault rifle is what I'm thinking. I don't know anything about guns, but that is. I'm just relating what my husband told me.
So this is all hearsay?
That occasion of him being there is hearsay. Me driving her and talking to that policeman, and that policeman being shaken up, was my experience, and I talked directly to the police officer.
So everything that the story, all these occasions of the trip to an airport on the cell phone call.
That was me hearing in the background.
Hearing in the background. And so she was on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you mention any detailed words of what was said on that phone call? Was there any swear words?
Yes, I heard the F word.
The F word?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what is the F word like?
I'm sorry. I understand what the F word is, and
Okay.
it's appropriate to address it that way in court. We don't use profanity in court.
I understand that.
Thank you.
And who was it said by? Did you hear that?
You said it. I heard it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Did you have any further questions for this witness?
No, no.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
You're welcome to remain in the courtroom at this time. Could we confirm that Mr. Bran is available?
So I think that we would have contacted her on the phone.
Oh. So he was going to be calling you?
Well, where he is, he's in Fort Huachuca. He's in a training class, and I called the head of the training facility, and they said they didn't know if they'd be able to get hold of him or
All
not.
right. Do we have a phone number? Let's try again on the line. Apparently, all circuits are busy, so let's recess Ms. Broughton's case. I know it's uncomfortable to move to Mr. Fisher's case, but I have reviewed Ed Broughton's statement, and I understand that Mr. Fisher just wishes to cross-examine him on that statement, and that Ms. Broughton had not anticipated calling her father to testify today. So we'll move on to Mr. Fisher's case and call him out of order when we're able to get a hold of him. If we're able to get a hold of him, it feels that technology is failing us today. Mr. Fisher, which witness did you wish to begin with, yourself or one of your witnesses?
I'm going to start off with one of my witnesses, Dolores Parate. We're going to try to reach her by phone.
And did you provide that phone number for her?
I can.
We should just say, phone number so we can get her on the line.
360-888-8318.
That's local.
Yes.
Is there a particular reason why she wasn't available in person?
Yes. She wishes not to face her daughter in cross-examination. She's hoping for a reconciliation with her and her daughter. And she's asking to be with her son, Christine's younger brother, who she currently has custody of.
All right, well, get her on the line. She has to face cross-examination. That's not an option.
Okay.
Ms. Broughton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Commissioner Thomas. We're calling from open court. Mr. Fisher has indicated that he wishes to call you as a witness today, but you are not willing to be subject to cross-examination. Is that an accurate statement?
Can you repeat that, please?
Mr. Fisher has indicated that he wishes to call you as a witness today, but that you are not willing to be subject to cross-examination. Is that an accurate statement?
I did not want to be subpoenaed for court today, but I will testify that I did write a statement.
All right. Ms. Broughton, I cannot consider your statement unless you are willing to be cross-examined with respect to that statement.
Okay, yes. I understand. I will be.
All right. Is there a particular reason why you're not available in person today?
Yes, I had to be at my job today.
Did you receive notice within 5 days of today's hearing that they were being requested to testify?
No, I did not.
All right. Would you stand and raise your right hand?
I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated if that's comfortable where you are.
Okay.
Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Dolores Broughton, and my last name is spelled B-R-A-A-T-E-N.
And how do you know Jacob Fisher?
He is the father of my daughter's son.
And Christine Broughton is your daughter?
That's correct.
And have you had opportunity to observe Mr. Fisher and Ms. Broughton together?
Yes, I have.
How would you describe those interactions?
My daughter and Mr. Fisher have been parents for over 2.5 years now, and they try to be good parents. And I would say the same thing as from two of them. Unfortunately, they're not trying to work things out at this point. Unfortunately, that is with my daughter. I wish the two of them were trying to work things out so they can figure out what it is that they can try to do the best they can for the child right now. That's what concerns me for the child.
Have you observed any behaviors between Mr. Fisher and Ms. Broughton that you would describe as violent?
I have observed one instance that was violent, I believe.
And when was that instance?
That instance was this last December.
In December of 2009?
That's correct.
And what did you observe?
Well, I observed my daughter being stressed out by we're getting ready to go somewhere, and she was had her child trying to climb up her legs, and she was very frustrated and dropped the child and went to slap Kyle Fisher in the face.
All right. Mr. Fisher, did my questioning bring out the testimony you wish to present with this witness, or did you have further questions?
Just to verify that she did observe the striking of Christine to me. That there was
Mr. Fisher would like you to repeat whether you were personally present and observed the incidents that you just testified to of Christine Broughton striking Jacob, also known as Kyle Fisher, on the face.
Yes, I was actually present at that very incident.
All right.
And I observed it, yes.
All right. Did you have any further questions?
no further questions.
Ms. Broughton, if you have cross-examination, just given that she didn't hear Mr. Fisher's question, I'm going to have you come forward so that we can pick up your voice on the speaker. Did you have questions for Ms.
Yes, I
Broughton?
do, Your Honor.
All right. All right, Ms. Broughton, let me clarify. Ms. Dolores Broughton, Ms. Christine Broughton is going to ask you some questions now regarding your testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Broughton.
Ms. Broughton, now you said that I dropped my son and he was climbing up on my legs because he was tired and wanted me or whatnot. I was entering the kitchen. How did you see him being dropped versus just, maybe falling to the ground or, slipping off my legs when I was moving?
You were actually standing when he was trying to crawl up on your legs and he wanted attention. You were very frustrated and you did not want him climbing up on you and you just kind of pulled out his arms and let go and dropped him onto the floor.
I feel that that's incorrect.
You will have an opportunity to present your rebuttal testimony at the end of this case. Now's the time to ask questions.
And you say that I struck Jacob Kyle Fisher, how would you say that that occurred?
It happened at the same time that right after you had dropped the child straight, Fisher, I don't recall exactly what was said, but you were very upset and you struck out on his face, on his cheek.
And this was something you witnessed yourself?
Yes, I did.
Would you say, did you see any marks?
No, I did not see any marks. It happened so quickly I didn't even go to look to see, but I was shocked after it happened.
So you're not sure what he said, or all you're saying is that you were proclaiming that I hit him in the face?
Yes, I remember very clearly.
I do not have any further questions at this time.
All right. Go ahead and have a seat, Mr. Fisher. If you have further questions, would you come forward as well so that we make sure she can hear you?
I just have one more question, Ms. Bran. Would you say that after she had struck me, that I showed complete restraint and possibly, and that I walked away completely, and that for a 23-year-old man who has just kind of endured...
Why don't you let her answer the question instead of answering it yourself?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Bratton.
Yes, yes, you did not strike back or get very upset. You were actually pretty calm considering the situation, and as soon as you could, I remember you walking out of the room. That's what I remember.
Thank you. Any more questions?
All right. Thank you for your participation today. That will conclude your participation in this hearing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Which witness would you like to turn to next, or are you prepared for your own testimony?
I am going to bring up Sheriff Hinkle.
All right. Sheriff. Okay. Apparently, Ms. Hinkle has also arranged to participate telephonically. This witness contacted court administration.
Oh, she's here.
Okay. Contacted court administration indicated she had an ill family member and needed to be with that family member, couldn't be present today, so apparently that is no longer true. Would you come forward to the microphone? You raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat at the witness chair, and please use your outside voice. So we're recording these proceedings, and you speak up.
Okay.
Thank you. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name's Cherish Hinkle. My last name, Hinkle.
And how would you describe your relationship with Mr. Fisher?
I came to know him through Christine Bratton.
And how long have you known Mr. Fisher?
Roughly 5 to 6 years in there.
And how do you know Christine Bratton?
Through eLife 6 years ago. I met her through, I was a youth leader at Rainer Chapel.
Have you had an opportunity to observe the interactions of Ms. Bratton and Mr. Fisher?
Unfortunately, yes.
How would you describe those interactions?
What specifically do you want to, are you asking me? I'm sorry.
I'm just asking some foundational questions. How would you describe the interactions?
The recent interactions?
Any interactions that you have observed that you found worthy of comment?
Well,
I guess I was expecting a specific question. I'm sorry.
I'm just asking some foundational questions. The specific questions will come from the parties.
Okay.
So please answer the question.
Okay. I've observed that I think Christine's very hurt and angry with Kyle, and he desperately wants to see his son, and she has she's seen the love that he has for his son and has shown that to me. And
I'm going to stop you.
okay, I don't.
Could you describe the interactions between them? How do they interact?
Interacting. They are, she's angry with him, and he desperately wants to see his son, so he's eager to try to see his son. That's what I've seen recently.
And have you observed any incidences between the two of them that you would describe as violent?
That I've observed. Not that I have seen myself in between the two, no.
Mr. Bishop, did my questioning bring out the testimony you wished from this witness, or did you have other questions?
I'm going to go into more specific questions here. We were aware of the incident that happened here this last February of Christine making arrangements with me to go visit with.
Hang on one second. Are you aware of a transfer for visitation in February?
Yes, I was. The McDonald's visit, yes.
Could you describe what you personally observed?
Yes, what I saw, you mean? Because I was not there. I was informed by Kyle, is that okay? I was informed by him that they were going to meet and he was going to get to have time with his son.
Right.
So he was very happy about that, relieved that he was going to meet and have time with his son, calls me in the middle of it and tells me...
Were you present at the transfer?
I was not present at the transfer, no. I was on the phone during the transfer, though, yes. He did call me.
What did you hear?
I heard that he was very upset and hurt because she ended up calling the cops on him.
All right. So they had previously arranged for a transfer for visitation, and what did you hear that went wrong in that transfer?
That she was calling the cops on him for taking Trace, when, from what I understood, she was going to allow him to see Trace.
All right. Any further questions? Did you have any questions for this witness?
I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
You state he had called you on the phone stating that he was going to have visitation at the McDonald's. He was going to see his son.
He just said he was going to have, he was finally going to get to see Trace, that he was looking forward to it, that you wanted to meet up with him, yeah, or whatever. I don't remember specifically if he had said where at that time, though, no. I don't remember the specifics if he was about...
And he just said he was going to see his son, not that he was going to have him for
He said he was just looking forward to see Trace, and that he was hoping, from what it sounded like, you were going to let him have time with his son. Yes, that's correct. Because he had kept trying to reach out to you and just have time with him, you know, while you were busy whatever you were doing, and I know I was in the middle of that for a while, and he just wanted to have time with his son when he was off work and you were busy with your activities.
And you had received this phone call in the middle of this incident occurring?
It sounded like it was in between it happening, yes. I don't know the specific time.
Had the police already been called?
I was under the impression that you were calling authorities, yes. That you got very upset, is what he had said, and everything was, he felt like he was going to be getting set up. Yeah.
I do not have any further questions at this point.
All right. Mr. Fisher, anything further based on the cross?
You say that you think that I was felt like I was being set up?
Yeah. That's what you made it sound like? Yes.
Thank you.
And you did say that I tried many times prior to try to do a mediation to make this arrangement?
Yes, you did, as you wanted me to try to get her to mediate, yes, to keep it out of the court system and set up a parenting plan.
No further questions.
Anything further based on the redirect?
Just describe what you meant by when you stated you were being set up.
When I said he thought you might be setting him up,
Yes.
he felt like, because he told me you brought him a Valentine gift there, so that paints a picture of your being loving, right? And he didn't want the Valentine gift that you brought there, and you kind of twisted it and turned it and then called the cops on him when he was under the impression that he was going to have time with Trace. So it confused him, you know what I mean? Why would you then want to call the cops if you're giving him a Valentine gift in love, and then say that you wanted witnesses out in public at McDonald's watching him when you're coming across like you wanted to mend things, which I do remember at the end of the relationship you did want things to still work out between the two of you. So, you know, that's what I mean.
I do not have any further questions.
Did you have any further questions based on that last response alone?
I do not.
May this witness be excused.
Yes.
You are welcome to remain in the courtroom at this time. If both parties have indicated they don't have any further questions for you.
Welcome to, or I need to?
You're welcome.
I'm just welcome to. Okay, thank you.
You're free to go.
Okay, good.
Mr. Fisher, next witness.
I'm going to call Bran Johnson.
We have David Johnson.
David Johnson, just went to the restroom.
All right, do we turn to someone else?
Yes, we can. In terms of Pastor Stan Harding.
All right. You come all the way forward to the mic. You raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. Would you have a seat in the registry? Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Stan Harding, Harding.
What is your relationship to Jacob Fisher? How do you know him?
I've known he and Christine for about 3 years, since about April
You know
2000.
both for the same amount of time?
Yes, April, I believe 2007. And I was interim pastor at Rainier Chapel, and that's where I met them when they were attending there.
And you've known them since then?
Yes.
During the time that you knew them, did you have an opportunity to observe the two of them together?
Yeah, many hours.
How would you describe those interactions?
Basically, fine. It was more trying to just work on the relationships. I mean, the opportunity I had with them, but it wasn't like one was overly out of control or angry, or we just kind of get both of them, feedback from both of them, and help them try to work through some different things. Yeah.
In those interactions that you were able to observe, personally observe anything that you would describe as violent?
No.
Has my questioning brought out the testimony you wish to present with this witness, or did you have further questions?
I have further questions. Have you had any individual counselings with either one or the other individual counseling sessions with Christine or I?
Yes.
And did you have some with Christine individually? Like even the conversation, telephone conversation, or face-to-face?
Well, I've talked to her on the phone. I have not counseled with her individually.
And in some of these phone calls, that individual phone calls that you've had with her, Is there any specific statements that you would like to present to the court?
One that seems like it could be pertinent was a 1-hour conversation in February. And Christine stated specifically Kyle had never physically abused or hit her or Trace.
Have I attempted or made, tried to make contact to try to do some kind of a parenting plan or a mediation prior to this domestic act? As opposed to domestic?
Yes.
I have. And did you ever try to speak with Christine on saving on my behalf to try to work out an arrangement?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
What is your impression of Christine's opinion towards me? My impression, basically, there's a lot of different things, but basically I feel like she feels there's nothing positive or good in you, and she wants nothing to do with you at all. Would you say that would be a motivation to try to place this protection order on me?
That's just my opinion. I don't know if you want me to answer that.
I don't. It
Okay.
calls for speculation,
Okay.
and it's not appropriate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No one further questions?
Did you have any questions?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
You stated that a phone conversation which occurred in February that you had said about asking me about physical, emotional, and mental violence that Jacob had put on me. What time period had you asked me about which that occurred?
I don't know that I understand your question.
The statement that you attributed to her.
The first part, February.
Some more specifics on that? What was the question about a specific time period?
Yes. Has there ever been physical abuse, or has he ever hit you? And you said no. But it was just a physical. I'm not talking about the emotional. You concluded quite a few other things.
You don't recall stating that has he ever within the last week or so?
No.
And when I spoke to you during a counseling session, do you recall me stating the physical violence that occurred in my fear?
No.
I have no further questions.
Anything further for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please step down. You're free to go, and you're
Free to go. All right.
in the courtroom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who would you like to have next?
Dana Johnson, please.
Has Ms. Johnson returned?
Yes.
Would you come all the way over to the microphone? Yes. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness chair. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Dana Johnson, Johnsson.
And what is your relationship to Jacob Fisher?
We have mutual friends.
How long have you known?
I did 2.5 years.
And how do you know Christine Bran?
I met her at a mom's group,
And when was that?
October of 2007.
Have you had occasion to observe the two of them interact with one another?
Yes.
How would you describe those interactions?
Not very good. They were kind of hostile.
you observed anything between the two of them that you would describe as violent?
Not in front of me, no.
Is my question brought out of the testimony that you wish to present with this witness, or did you have more questions?
Who would you say you got to know more closely, Christine or I?
Christine.
Why did you get to know Christine more?
She moved in with me for a while.
So she lived with you.
Yes.
And why was she living with you?
She was living there. I knew she needed a place to stay, and she was supposed to be there in exchange for helping me with my children while I was going through some things.
Did she hold up her end of that bargain to help out?
I don't feel like she fully did, no.
We described our relationship as hostile. Would you say that hostility is directed more towards me or directed towards Christine's end? Meaning, was there any violence towards one another?
I would say violence. It's just cold and snappy at each other. And
So let me understand, you're saying that they were hostile to one another?
yes.
In your declaration, it states that Christine, on several occasions, would admit to you that she had slapped me and that she would always be hitting me. Can you repeat or remind me of why she always did this?
I asked her about it, actually, and she said that she thought it was funny. She wanted to see how far she could push you, and that she just thought it was funny to upset you and make you cry.
Would you say it's a fair accusation that Christine is the type of person who's always trying to seek control?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to interrupt this witness's testimony as I've just been informed that Mr. Bran is available and he's only available for 10 to 15 minutes, so I want to take advantage of his brief availability. So I'm going to have you step back outside because we're not done with it yet.
Okay.
And get Mr. Bran on the line. Mr. Broughton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Commissioner Thomas. We're calling from open court.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm happy that you were able to make yourself available today. Ms. Broughton has submitted your statement, and Mr. Fisher has requested an opportunity to cross-examine you. So I will need to give him that opportunity before we let you go. How long are you available today?
I'm on a break right now, 10 to 15 minutes.
All right, we will try to be as efficient as possible. Would you state your name and spell your, would you stand and raise your right hand and tell me when you've done so?
Yeah, I'm in the vehicle, okay, I have.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And you're welcome to have a seat back in the vehicle if you wish.
Okay.
Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Edward Kenneth Broughton. The last name spelling is B-R-A-A-T-E-N.
And what is your relationship to Christine Broughton?
Christine was my daughter.
Are you familiar with Jacob Fisher?
Yes, I am.
Have you had the opportunity to observe the two of them together?
Yes, I am.
How would you describe the interactions that you observed?
It's varied over the course of the last several years. I've seen them at times when they were getting along well. I've seen them at times when they were not getting along at all. I've been involved in several instances where the police were involved with them.
Have you observed anything that you would describe as violent?
Well, yes, I've seen Kyle lose his temper. I've also heard him over the telephone while he was having, a rather loud and aggressive conversation with my daughter. Most recently, when she called me, he was taking her back from a trip that she made to Arizona, and he was using every speaker in the book towards her.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bran, did you have any further questions for this witness, or did my questioning and his statement cover the issues you wish to present with this witness?
Yes, I think that...
Hang on one second. And Ms. Broughton, would you come forward to the speaker so that he can hear you? I'm asking Christine Broughton if she has any further questions for you. I just asked the foundational questions. She'll ask the specific questions. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay, so you don't have any further questions for Mr. Broughton. You stand by his written statement and his comments to the court today.
I do, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. Mr. Fisher, would you come forward to the speaker so that Mr. Broughton can hear you? You indicated you had cross-examination questions. Go ahead.
Mr. Broughton, have you ever physically seen or observed me hitting your daughter?
I have not seen you hit my daughter now. Not personally.
You say that you saw or heard a conversation over the telephone. When was this conversation?
It was, I don't know the exact date, let's go back and look at the calendar, but Christina had to be picked up at the airport, brought back home, and you were giving her that ride home, and that was a conversation I've just recounted where you were swearing at her, and you were mad about having to pick her up. We were also talking about the traffic being bad, and there was some black man ahead of you, and you wanted to kill him. You should kill him.
And you heard all of this from my mouth?
Yes, you were talking. It was very distinctive in your voice that I was overhearing on Christina's cell phone as she was trying to have a conversation with me, and she was very flustered and unhappy with the situation.
And is there a possibility that there was someone else in the vehicle that could sound like me? Like if I have a brother or something that could sound similar?
No, it's your voice. As clearly as I can understand, it's your voice right now as you're speaking.
So again, you have never seen me physically abuse your daughter, or our son for that matter, correct?
I have not personally seen you hit my daughter. I've only seen the verbal abuse.
Thank you. No more questions.
Ms. Broughton, did you have any redirect for this witness?
I don't know.
All right. Thank you for making yourself available, Mr. Brunton. That will conclude your testimony.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Ms. Brunton, we kind of took things a little bit out of order. Was that the last witness that you wish to present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have any further testimony to present by way of your own testimony now that you have presented all of your witnesses?
Unless I am allowed to talk more about the witness.
You'll have the final rebuttal witness, rebuttal testimony. Did you have any further direct testimony?
I do not.
Do you rest your case?
I do not.
Excuse me?
I do not.
You do not? What further
Rest my
evidence?
case before the rebuttal?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. All right, we'll turn back to Mr. Fisher's case. We'll need to get Ms. Johnson. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Thank you for your patience as we address this very unavailable witness. You were describing that, when I interrupted you, that you had been better acquainted with Christine Brunton, that you knew them both, you felt that their interactions with one another were hostile. Do you recall what you were about to say?
I just said that they were just snippy at each other, and they just, I don't know, not what you, I don't even know how to describe it really, just not a loving situation at all. So I was sensing that they're always picking at each other, I guess.
All right, thank you.
I guess to carry off, you said that your last statement was, Christine was like to slap me / hit me, and she explained to you what was her reasoning for that?
And she thought I was funny. She wanted to see if she could provoke you. Not exactly her word.
Would you say that Christine's being very immature about this proceeding of the protection order?
Yes.
And in this relationship that you observed between Christine and I, would you say that Christine was always trying to seek control of the relationship, being the top dog, as you would say?
For the most part, I would say yes.
Can I have you lean forward to the microphone, picture you up there?
Have you ever seen Jacob Fisher, hit or abuse Christine?
No. Not physically, no.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by not physically, no?
Well, I mean, I just being specific, but
I understand, but his question was, have you ever seen him personally abuse Christine Fisher? And your answer was no, not physically. So what do you mean by the clarification?
well, I guess I've come from an abusive relationship, and sometimes with just like I was talking about with the hostility, just the snippiness. To me, that can be probably construed as abusive, but it was on both their parts. It wasn't one-sided at all.
Thank you.
How long did Christine and you live together?
About 7 weeks.
And what caused you to ask her to leave
I didn't feel comfortable with her being there with my children.
around her children?
Yes.
Do you think I should have any reasons of doubt or sketchy feelings of Christine being in full care of my son?
Yes.
No further questions.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have questions. Did you ever see me hit Jacob with Kyle Fisher?
No.
While I was staying at your residence temporarily, did you ever allow Jacob Kyle Fisher to come over to pick up his son or visit him there at the residence?
No.
Not allowing him to be there, was that out of fear for my safety and Tracy's safety?
For what you had told me, based on what you had told me, yes.
I'm sorry, you need to sit up closer
Sorry.
to the microphone or just speak louder?
Based on what you had told me about what I felt like it was best that he not come to the house. I hadn't seen anything personally. I was just taking your word for it.
And how long after, now did he ever come over to the house?
Yes.
How often did he come over to the house?
Probably 3 times total.
And then you decided to have him go to a public place for our safety?
Pardon me?
And then you decided to have him meet at a public place for the safety of Trace and I,
For all of you, yes, all 3 of you.
and for your children as well?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to redirect some of those. You said that I visited your place 3 times approximately during this time that I was not allowed. Did you make it clarified to me that I was not allowed at your location?
I didn't.
You did not to me, correct?
No.
Do you own a home?
Yes.
And were you hoping on regards that Christine would allege that or remark to me that I was not allowed there?
Yes.
Is it possible that Christine never said anything to me?
It's possible.
Can you even think of the 3 times that I approached your home?
You dropped Trace off one night. One day you picked him up and you dropped off a bed for Christine at my home. That's the 3 I recall. Yes.
No further questions?
I want to better understand why, after those 3 interactions, you decided that there should be no further coming of Mr. Fisher to your home.
Because Christine told me that he was being abusive.
So
And
was there anything that you had observed that, and she hadn't mentioned it before those 3 interactions?
She had mentioned it before.
So what caused you to change your mind after those 3 interactions?
Just she was telling me more things, but I just took her word for it. I just took her word that I just had her in my home, and I didn't want to. Like I said, I was in an abusive relationship myself, and I didn't want to.
Is there anything that you observed in those 3 interactions when Mr. Fisher was at your home that made you feel that it was important for him not to be in your home?
No, not personally, no.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions based on my questioning?
No, Your Honor.
No.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask that we turn to James Fisher next, as some of the testimony is becoming a bit repetitive and not helpful to the court.
I'm going to be rebutting Terry Fisher off of Ed Broughton's testimony.
I understand. I'm going to ask for Mr. Fisher next because that's the only other witness that you indicated actually observed the transfer, which is the alleged incident of domestic violence. Would you come forward to the microphone? You raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness chair. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
James Michael Fisher, Fisher.
And Mr. Fisher, you have a very young-looking face. Are you 18 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know Mr. Jacob Fisher?
He's my brother, 18 years.
And are you familiar with Christine Broughton?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known her?
2 to 3, or since the birth of Trace, a little bit before.
Have you had opportunity to observe interactions between Mr. Fisher and Ms. Broughton?
Would you specify the question?
Have you seen them together, the parties?
At parties?
No. The individuals that are here in court.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to refer to as the parties. Christine?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And in observing them together, how would you describe their interactions? How do they act with one another?
They acted very well, you know. Every time they came over our house, they'd act very well together, you know. But
All right.
certainly no violence.
So you've never observed anything violent between the two of them?
Never, ma'am.
And the interactions that you observed between the two of them were good interactions?
Objection.
There was one that,
Hang on one second. You're objecting to the court's questioning?
Yeah, it seemed like you were patronizing the witness with, like, you're kind of trying to convince him to say something. It sounded like.
I understand, but I'm trying my best to be as neutral as possible in asking foundational questions, and was just trying to clarify that there had never been any interactions, because of course both of you in this testimony will go directly to the specific incident of domestic violence. So I just want to clarify that from his opinion and perspective,
Your Honor.
I've never seen any interactions that were inappropriate.
yes, I've seen one, but I'm talking about like the home environment. I've never seen anything.
For the clarification.
I'm sorry, ma'am. The one I have seen, I don't know if you bring this up yet or not, Kyle. When my brother went and picked up his van from McDonald's, have you bring that up yet?
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
The reason that witnesses are sequestered is because they're not allowed to know what has been already presented to the court. They're supposed to present their own testimony.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I witnessed one domestic violence, I guess you can call that, where Christine Bratton did lay her hands on Kyle, and that was in front of a McDonald's in Yelm, Washington. What Kyle was doing, huh?
When was it?
I'd say about maybe a month ago, give or take a week or two.
All right.
And Jacob Fisher, he was picking up his van, some Dodge Caravan he has, and it is in his name, and it does belong to him, but Christine was driving it, you know, to tow Trace around, carry him around and stuff, but he wanted to pick it up because it is his van. This is when, you know, all this kind of started up, you know, and when he went and picked it up, you know, I drove him in my truck, and it was later at night, and I rolled down the window because I was parked, and, you know, he was having her get all of her belongings out of the van, and, you know, I was curious because, you know, I knew she was going to be a little disappointed, so I figured I was going to roll down the passenger window so where I can, you know, kind of eavesdrop, so to speak, and there was a ton of foul language coming from her, and you know, so I'm watching it, and there's a ton of foul language coming from her, and she actually struck my brother in the face, left cheek. So, and there was one prior incident, but I personally didn't witness it, and that was the previous Christmas, that time, and he actually did have bruises on his face at that time. But and during the McDonald's incident, he definitely didn't return any kind of, you know, abuse at all. He just kept telling her, get your stuff out of the van and be on with it, you know, so he can get his van and get home. So I did witness that. That was the only thing I can honestly say that I've seen of her do, you know. But he definitely didn't return fire, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher, did you have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Broughton, did you have any questions for this
I
witness?
do not have any further questions at this point, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat in the courtroom. Both parties have indicated they don't have any further questions for you. Any further witnesses to present?
I'd like to... Well, I'd like to bring in Teresa Fisher, or Terry Fisher.
Terry Fisher. If you come all the way forward to the microphone. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My formal name is Teresa Fisher, but I go by Terry.
And would you spell your last name for the record?
Fisher.
And how do you spell Teresa?
Teresa.
And what is your relationship to Jacob Fisher?
He's my son.
Are you familiar with Christine Bran?
Yes.
How long have you known her?
3 or 4 years, I guess.
Have you observed interactions between Christine Bran and Jacob Fisher?
Yes.
How would you describe those interactions?
Challenging at best.
What do you mean by that?
She tries to dictate to Kyle what to do. She always wants to be the boss. And she has a hard time accepting advice from other people. She has a hard time, I don't know how to put it, but relating to others. I guess that's a better way to put it.
During the interactions that you've observed, have you personally observed anything that you would describe as violent?
Towards me, yes.
Between the two of us?
Oh, between the two of them. Yes, but not, it's more verbally than anything.
When you say yes, what do you mean?
As of hate words more, I guess that's what it was.
So no physical and touching of one another?
No, not really.
All right. Based on, has my testimony brought out all of the testimony you wish to present with this witness, or did you have additional questions for this witness?
I have additional questions. Have you had any interactions with, say, Christine's family?
Yes.
Who?
Her father.
And her father, what is his name? Ed Bran?
Yes.
Can you describe any intercount or any of the intercounts
Well, Christine and Ed came to my house one day, and I invited them into the home, and I said, well, come and sit down so we could talk. And I didn't know that they were coming, so I was kind of unprepared to have guests, but they came in and they said they were going to take Trace. And I told them that, well, how about we just sit down and talk? And they said no, and they grabbed Trace up, and I held on to Trace, and I said, well, how about we just put Trace down and let's talk? But needless to say, that did not work for Ed. He physically dragged me out of my home. He kind of battered me up a little bit against my fence on my porch, broke my fence. I was trying to protect Trace, so I was trying to hold him as steady as I could. And I got bruises up and down my arm and my side of my breast, and from him throwing me against my railing. But finally, he did succeed and put down Trace when my husband came out. And but But other than that, I haven't had any.
Did you contact Child Protective Services or law enforcement?
The police came out and took the report.
Excuse me?
The police came out to take the report.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
You say that Ed abused you or
Well,
hurt you.
hurt me.
Are these pictures of?
Yes.
These have not been identified, and
Yes.
it's not
Oh,
relevant
I'm
to the
sorry.
proceeding as to what domestic violence.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
not going to have you introduce new evidence an hour and a half into a hearing where you indicated all the evidence you've had and already marked all of it.
No further questions.
Did you have any questions for this witness?
I don't, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused.
Yes.
You're welcome to remain in the courtroom.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I thank you.
Did you have any further witnesses to present that have information regarding the allegations of domestic violence that are before the court?
I'm going to give my testimony now, Your Honor.
All right, would you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Would you go ahead and have a seat, state your name, and spell your last name for the record. If you're more comfortable standing, that's fine. Just when you're there, that microphone picks up better. The one in front of you, when you're seated. And it's fairly powerful, so.
This case is not a child
Let me-
custody case.
We need to make sure that we're presenting testimony. Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Jacob Kyle Fisher. I spell JACOBKYLEFISHER.
And what is your relationship to Christine Bran?
We are past significant others.
And you have one child in common?
We have one child in common.
And that's the child traits that I've heard so much about. Yes. How do you respond to the allegations of domestic violence against you?
I'm against the allegations of Christine Bran. She states on several occasions that I'm in this so-called domestic violence treatment, or that I have a conviction of a domestic violence. That is false. I have provided with the court and Christine documentation that all it was a deferred prosecution.
So you understand that I have received and reviewed your individual case history, and I see that there was a previous civil finding of domestic violence, and that I see that there was a criminal protection order violation proceeding, which resulted in a deferred prosecution.
Correct.
All right, go ahead.
I provided also with the courts for the deferral prosecuting, the terms were to get an evaluation done. I provided the courts with that evaluation stating from the evaluator
When
that
did you
I'm
provide
not.
that evaluation?
Huh?
When did you provide that evaluation?
Date is February 24th at 8:58. It is attachment B.
Just one moment. intake doesn't have the format that I'm accustomed to seeing for domestic violence evaluation. I cannot tell if it included contact with the victim from the form that was used here. Can you tell me if there was contact with the victim?
No, ma'am.
So there was no contact with the victim by this evaluator?
No physical contact. It was through no physical or verbal contact. It was through
So the evaluator did not make contact telephonically or in person with the alleged victim in this case?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, there was contact. He contacted Christine, yes.
All right, and where is that indicated?
Last page, it says contact with victim, and it has double X next to yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
In this document, it states what his recommendations were towards the courts for. He wanted 6 individual follow-up sessions just to communicate with me to see how I'm doing and working with my relationship, not domestic violence treatment. And he even clarifies that in the additional comments, where it says if during this recommended treatment period, if he sees the need for a DV, domestic violence treatment, if it becomes apparent, the court will be notified.
All right. Go ahead.
I am currently on my last session as of this Monday. He is fully aware of the past events that have happened with Christine and I. And it is to my knowledge that his opinion is he would want to speak more with Christine due to the fact he thinks it's a little bit, our conflicts are more one-sided.
Have you provided me with a sworn statement from Mr. Nota Francisco that indicates that?
I have not.
All right. And
Your testimony.
but it's your testimony that you have discussed the recent transfers of the minor child and
Correct.
that it's his opinion that it's one-sided.
Correct.
All right.
Christine alleges in her petition that I was harassing her with text messages, outrageous text messages. I have provided to the court a documentation, all list of the texts that I have sent and received from Christine. It is in attachment B. And in these texts, I find nowhere, or attachment and in those texts, I believe there is no source for this protection order to be in place. I merely was after to see if there's a time I can set up some mediation so we could do it outside of the courts. Obviously, that's not going to happen at this point. For visitation and working out a parenting plan between Christine and I. The whole source of this whole conflict, or the reason why we're here, I believe, is due to miscommunication. I provided the court with some pictures of me and my son to demonstrate that Christine is the one that took the pictures, I must have to say too. That Christine does trust me with our son, and that she feels completely comfortable with my son. And as we witnessed from my witnesses that they would agree.
Are you asking me to consider those photographs?
I am.
Ms. Bran, would you step forward and take a look at what's been identified as Respondent's Exhibit 1, and let me know if you have any objection to my looking at those photographs.
I would like to take objection from.
And what is your objection?
I did not take all those photographs.
Are you objecting to the authenticity of those photographs? Is there anything in there that is, from your perspective, appears to have been altered?
Yes, 2 of the photographs I did not personally take, and I believe there's 4 in the exhibit, there's 3. 2 of them I did not personally take, the other ones I did. So the authenticity of me taking the other ones, I would object to that. Also, anytime that there's domestic violence, just because there's one day where you have a happy child and things seem to be going well, doesn't mean that there's not something going on the next minute or the next day. And
That goes to legal conclusion, not to whether I should look at the photographs. So you have a concern that 2 of the photographs were somehow manipulated and are not accurate photographs?
Yes, I do not know who took them. I don't know when it occurred.
All right. Mr. Fisher, can you take a look at those photographs and specifically identify the photographs that were not taken by Ms. Broughton, who took them, and what they depict?
Well, this one
I can't look at them until we've addressed the objection. Thanks.
This one is taken during a camping trip. This last.
Identify the ones that were not taken by Ms. Broughton. She's indicated that there are photographs that were not taken by her. She doesn't have an objection to the authenticity of the photographs that were taken by herself, just that to what they represent. And I'll hear her testimony on that.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, these were all taken by Christine.
It's your position that she took them all?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Broughton, would you identify which ones you feel were not taken by you?
The photograph, so is that second photograph? Okay, the second photograph on page 1, I did not take. And the 5th photograph, the page 3 photograph, I also did not take.
Oh, and I understand that you're saying you didn't take them. Is there something that you're seeing there that leads you to believe that those have been created in Photoshop or digitally manipulated, and that they're not accurate depictions of Mr. Fisher with your son?
I can't say that.
Okay. Are they accurate photographs of Mr. Fisher and your son?
Yes, I do recognize Jacob Fisher and Trace Landon Fisher in the photographs mentioned in the exhibit.
All right. So your objection is to my drawing a conclusion as to what those photographs represent, not that they're inaccurate in any way?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The objection is overruled. I'll consider the photographs that will be admitted. It goes to weight and to conclusion, and that is an issue for the court to determine. Go ahead, Mr. Fisher. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. She alleges that there's these texts that I was harassing her with. I would like to just voice a few of these out. Basically, they're all, it's not even repetitive or anything.
I've read the attachment. I understand that there are repetitive requests to arrange for visitation. We don't need to spend time going through those.
So basically, it's just about miscommunication. There is no need for this protection order. I have never hit or abused Christine C. Broughton, nor have I ever verbally demeaned her or bad talked her. I think it's all how she is possibly that it was perceived, and I think it was misperceived. I don't think I was given the opportunity to clarify myself, most likely. It sounds to me by the petition that her story seems to be out of order is probably the best phrase I can put for it. At one moment she refers to an incident at McDonald's, and then the next incident she tries to refer to a year ago, a term for where there was a possible conviction of me having a domestic record. Clearly,
It's
the
a
fact
civil finding.
Civil
And
finding,
access
sorry.
to that file and that evidence, and have considered it.
which is inaccurate, according to Christine's perspective. I would say that the witnesses prior, including Sheriff Hinkle and Dana Johnson, that Christine is having some control situations, and that the purpose of her trying to get this protection order and is trying to alter the idea of a parenting plan. Her goal is to try to seize our son entirely and to gain full custody of him. I don't want her to have the upper hand in that case, which is really custody has nothing to do with this case at all. So I just ask for the court to dismiss or drop this protection order and allow for us to try to get a mediation to go on to work to attempt for a finalized parenting plan so where we solve all of this miscommunication altogether.
Thank you. Ms. Brown,
Yes, Your Honor.
you get the final word.
I would like to say that I object to having the order removed for my and Trace Fisher's safety. We are afraid for our safety and our physical, emotional, and mental safety and well-being, and feel that we are safer with having protection against Jacob Kyle Fisher. Stated because of the past, what has happened with police statements and the conviction and the harassment and physically what has occurred and what has been said and done.
Thank you. I have carefully reviewed all of the written documentation that parties have requested today, that I take that into consideration, not just in terms of preparing for the hearing, but in making my decision. And I will take all of those things into consideration. I had available to me the parenting plan cause of action, which was dismissed because neither party moved that matter forward, and prior domestic violence protection order matters in 2008, one by Mr. Fisher that was denied, and one by Ms. Broughton that was granted after a full hearing. I have listened carefully to the testimony of all of the witnesses today, and I have reviewed the individual case histories of both parties, including the information of the civil finding of domestic violence, which was previously made against Mr. Broughton, and the information regarding the deferred prosecution on the violation of the prior domestic violence protection order. Considering all these issues and the totality of the circumstances, and frankly, the party should be aware the statute requires me to look at the totality of the circumstances. It does not limit me to just the last 6 months or the period of time since you agreed to terminate the prior protection order. There have been acts of domestic violence in this case. It's been found previously after full hearing, and it is appropriate for the court to issue a protection order. I will say there have also been clear attempts to prohibit a father from exercising his visitation, and that he has granted documentation to the court. He has provided documentation to the court that he desperately wishes to have a relationship with his son, and it would be appropriate for one or the other of you to initiate a parenting plan cause of action because you're not able to work it out, and mediation is not appropriate in relationships where there has been a history of domestic violence and you are not able to communicate on an equal footing. So attempting to mediate the situation is ill-advised. and would not be supported by the court. There are many parenting plan issues in this case, and the fact that there's going to be a protection order entered today does not prohibit you from having a relationship with your child. There isn't, from this court's perspective, based on the treatment reports that have been provided to the court that included collateral input with the Mr. Fisher pointed that out. Ms. Broughton didn't indicate that was incorrect, that Mr. Nova Francisco didn't contact her in addressing what treatment was necessary. Mr. Fisher has indicated that he's completed that treatment. What I'm going to do today is indicate that there will be a one-year protection order prohibiting Mr. Fisher from contacting Ms. Broughton, as there have been acts of domestic violence and she feels unsafe, and from contacting Trace while he's in the care of Ms. Broughton. However, I am going to require that you have a schedule that transfers the child so the child can have visitation with his father, and it shouldn't be visitation that's only for 15 to 20 minutes at a McDonald's while you are present. That's inappropriate and unsafe for you and tends to increase the hostilities in these circumstances. Trace should have a relationship with his father separate and apart from his relationship with you, so long as it is safe. And I will revert to the provisions of the temporary parenting plan that were entered, taking all of those things into consideration and including those provisions in today's order. Visitation will be Monday from 10 to 6:30, Friday from 3 to 9, Sunday all day to 8 p.m. after church. I'm sorry, was Monday after church? Or was that Sunday that's after church? There's an arrow from Monday going to the after church in this order. Do either of you recall?
I'd like to see if I can make it to where, for temporary purposes, to where I can have custody of my son from Friday to Sunday.
So the temporary order doesn't work for you the way that it was identified previously?
Yes, it does not.
Your Honor.
All of those visits were daytime visits. They were restricted, I'm assuming, based on the reservation of limitations and the history of domestic violence, so that visits would need to be limited to daytime visits. Ms. Fisher, Ms. Broughton.
Your Honor, would there be a possibility of revision of the parenting plan due to the extenuating circumstances?
What I'm going to tell you again, which is repeating what I just said, is that both of you need to initiate a parenting plan cause of action. Your parenting plan cause of action was dismissed because you failed to finalize it. What I am doing today is reverting to the provisions of that order, which was 3 days of daytime visits only with Mr. Fisher, and I will work with you on what your current circumstances are, because obviously I'm looking at something from 2008, and ask both of you to advocate for yourselves by filing a parenting plan cause of action where this can be comprehensively addressed and a proper, complete, comprehensive parenting plan can be put into place. That doesn't mean that this is not a protection order case. There was acts of domestic violence. She feels unsafe. It's appropriate for her to have that protection, and for any parenting plan and any transfer to not include her.
Your Honor, I would have to, because she's still contacting me. What am I to do? I have texts in here that are showing
I don't have a petition or a case in front of me requesting restraints on her contact. What I am ruling on is her request for protection from you. I have heard all of the testimony, and it is appropriate for me to answer only the question that is before the court, and that is a request to restrain you, not her. This order doesn't restrain her. Of course, if she contacts you and you respond, that does subject you to arrest. And if she continues to contact you and seek you out, that undermines her statements of fear. So I wouldn't anticipate that she would be seeking you out, but avoiding you, as is evidenced by the exhibits that you provided to the court. She's not responding when you're contacting her.
I'm not responding when I'm contacting, but she is still contacting
Enough.
me.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you what 3 daytime visits work for your current work schedule.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Is it appropriate for me to give you every weekend? What 3 days? There was 1 evening visit and 2 daytime visits. what days work for you.
Right, what? You said 2 weekdays?
It would be inappropriate, the prior order indicated that you would have visitation limited to daytime only, 3 days a week. It would be inappropriate for me to take every weekend from her. So what 3 days can you have daytime visitation with your child?
Wednesday, Friday, Saturday?
Ms. Broughton, does that work for you?
Could I plead for supervised visitation?
I'm not finding that it's appropriate, given that he's completed all of the services and I have that evidence before me. It's appropriate to revert to what you were doing in 2008 with 3 daytime visits and one or the other of you initiating the case to move this forward.
I just spoke with somebody who is from the prosecutor's office, and they told me that they're not sure if he's in current compliance right now, and they're looking into the case.
That's not evidence that you presented prior to my ruling. I can't consider that. And it's a hearsay statement that's self-serving at this point, after I've already ruled on this issue, so that puts a shadow on the credibility of that statement, if you will. He's indicated he's available Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday for visitation. What hours would work for you? All right, then I'm just going to indicate 10 to 6:30 as in the prior order. And how will the transfers be effected without you present?
That's why I was asking for supervised, so he could go to a supervised facility here.
I understand your request and denied it. What hours would work? Who else would work?
I don't have anybody that can do it.
All right. Then the exchanges will be professionally supervised at South Sound Visitation Center. There is a cost for the professional supervision, unless you have an individual that she would be comfortable with that could facilitate the transfers.
Suzanne, or Dolores Broughton?
Would you be comfortable with your mother facilitating the transfers?
I would not.
Suzanne Broughton?
How about Suzanne Broughton?
I would not.
Why is that?
Because as a woman, and because she's involved in the case.
Is your child comfortable with Suzanne Broughton?
Could I?
Could you answer
If
the question?
that's the case, then what about Edward Broughton being a supervisor?
Excuse me?
What about Edward Broughton then?
He's not available. He's out of state. We need someone who's present.
I don't think she would be available for that.
Excuse me?
I don't think she would be available with that with her schedule.
All right, then I have no choice but to modify my prior ruling and require that the child spend alternating weekends, overnights with the father so that we can facilitate the transfers at daycare, as you're simply not cooperating and identifying an individual that would be able to transfer the child so that it eliminates the contact between the two of you. It's beginning to feel very much like you are trying to keep him from having any contact with his child.
I'm just afraid that he might hurt somebody that is supervising it, or that there might be control and manipulation.
There has been no evidence to support such an allegation, and I've listened for 2 hours and plus to all of the evidence that you wish to present. There's no evidence that he has been out of control, violent by any of the witnesses, including yourself.
Well, I guess that we could ask Suzanne. I don't know if she'd be available for work schedule, but we could ask her.
All right, then I will indicate that the parties may have contact by text messages to identify individuals that they both are comfortable with, that Trace is comfortable with, to facilitate the transfers. And I'll anticipate that one or the other of you will file a parenting plan cause of action so that this particular temporary arrangement does not remain temporary for the next 2 years. can sign it and obtain copies of these orders downstairs in the clerk's office. Mr. Fisher, I'm going to have you wait out in the hallway so we can let staff go. Ms. Broughton, I'm going to have you hurry on downstairs. And I do need both of you to step forward to sign the documentation to destroy her